Welcome to the residential ventilation chapter. Alessandro, our product officer for residential ventilation, will show you all about our solutions to ensure a good indoor air quality in our houses. The floor, it's yours, Alessandro.
Thank you, Vitor, for the introduction. Welcome, everyone. I'm Alessandro from the ventilation department at Daikin Europe, and today I'm going to describe why indoor air quality is so important and how Daikin is working to ensure good indoor air quality in your homes. First of all, I would like to start by describing what are the risks that come from poor indoor ventilation, the first one being CO2. As my colleague Vitor said earlier, people tend to spend 90% of their time indoor, and indoor air can be up to 5 times more polluted than outdoor air. Of course, after COVID in the last couple of years, this trend has affected us even more strongly, and that's why we need to be careful about CO2. But let's take a look at this picture where the CO2 levels are described and displayed. If we consider a ventilated environment, an indoor environment, we can see that the safe threshold is at around 1000 ppm, meaning that if we ventilate our bedroom, for example, we can stay below the 1000 ppm. And when I say ppm, I mean parts per million. So if we are in the green area, in the safe zone, we can ventilate properly our home and benefit from this ventilation. However, if we don't ventilate our room, our bedroom, for example, then we can get up to 2000, 2500 ppm on average, which is twice as much as the safe threshold I mentioned before. However, we don't want to focus just on the average. We want to go a little bit deeper. We want to go a little bit further and take a look at this example where a typical bedroom is described. In this case, we consider a family with 2 parents and 1 baby, and this is the baby's bedroom. In this case, the parents put the baby to sleep at around 9:30 p.m., 10 p.m. in the evening. And at this point, you can see that we are in the safe zone. We are close to the threshold of 1000 ppm. And this is the first black circle that you can see on the bottom left corner of the slide. However, after the parents put the baby to sleep, they don't want any noise going through the walls. They don't want the baby to be woken up by anything, meaning that they close the door, they close the window. So the baby can finally sleep throughout the night, that's for sure. The problem is that the CO2 levels rise up quite quickly until the next morning when the parents go back, open the door and take the baby from the room. This is the second black circle that you can see on the top right corner of the image. And at this point, you can see that the CO2 levels rised up to 3000, 3500 ppm, so more than 3 times the safe threshold I mentioned before. So why does this happen? Well, in the recent times, we've been trying to insulate our homes more and more. We are trying to make them warmer and warmer in winter. We are trying to make them fresher and fresher in summer. And that is good. The problem is that if we insulate but we don't ventilate, then we can get concentration issues, we can get headaches, we can get fatigues. Another risk that comes from poor indoor ventilation is associated with humidity. And in this case, the safe range is within 30% and 70% relative humidity. This means that if we are above 70%, the air is too humid and we can run the risk of growing mold or bacteria, we can get stuffy conditions, and we can also we can feel a general discomfort. On the other side, if the air is too dry, it means that we are below 30% relative humidity, and in this case, we can catch a cold or an infection, we can get itchy and dry skin, and we can also risk to damage the sidings, the walls of our home. The problem here is that the human body does not really recognize a variation in the relative humidity levels within the range 30%, 70%. So if I realize that the air in my bedroom is too dry or too humid, it's already too late. So what did Daikin do in order to address this issue and provide optimum indoor air quality? Well, we chose the most advanced solution on the market, which is the centralized heat recovery ventilation system, whose acronym is CHRV. Let's remember this acronym because it will come back up later on. So CHRV, what is it? First of all, we need to mention the 2 fans, the 2 blowers that can mechanically transport the air on the supply side and on the extraction side. Of course, we could have chosen different options available on the market. For example, the natural ventilation, meaning opening a window, but that's not enough anymore. We could have chosen simpler options, such as options just with one fan, with one blower, either on the supply side or on the extraction side. But no, Daikin chose the most advanced and most efficient solution on the market, CHRV, centralized heat recovery ventilation. So how does this system, this centralized heat recovery ventilation system, actually work? Well, there are 3 bullet points that need to be mentioned. The first one being the ducting parts. So we need to supply the fresh, clean, non-polluted air from the outdoor environment into the indoor environment, into the dry rooms, which are the bedroom, the living room, the dining room, and the office, if we have one. On the other side, we need to extract the dirty, polluted air, the stale air from the indoor environment, so from our wet rooms, which are the cellar, the toilet, the bathroom, and the kitchen, through the ventilation device, and pushed outside our home into the outdoor environment. And this is the first bullet point. Then we have the heat exchanger, because while doing this, we can also recover some heat, we can recover some energy and transfer this energy from the supply side to the extraction side and vice versa. Sometimes, of course, we don't need a heat exchanger. And that's why we can also use the bypass, which is a simple valve that allows us to bypass, to avoid using the heat exchanger when we don't need it. For example, when the temperature in the outdoor environment is exactly the temperature that we want, we don't need to transfer heat. And that's why we can use the bypass. So the centralized heat recovery ventilation system from Daikin is not only the most advanced solution on the market, it's actually a very flexible system as well. Of course, I mentioned the most important bullet points of this centralized heat recovery ventilation system, but that's not the end of it. There are some additional features I would like to mention because these are the added value of these centralized ventilation units. The first one of these additional feature is related to the filtration, the high capacity of filtration of these ventilation devices, because we can provide filters that can treat the air up to EPM 170%, which is one of the highest standards in the market. Secondly, and this is my favorite feature, Daikin can provide on-demand ventilation, meaning that we can ventilate when it is needed, where it is needed, and for as long as it's needed. How can we do so? We simply place some sensors in the different rooms of your house, the living room, the bedroom, the kitchen, and so on. According to your needs, the unit can autonomously change the airflow and set the correct airflow. So you don't have to remember to stand in front of the unit every time you go on holiday or every time you wake up in the morning, every time you go to bed at night. Everything is handled autonomously from the ventilation device. And this is the power of on-demand ventilation. At this point, you might be wondering what did Daikin practically do to bring these CHRV units to the market. Well, we chose to partner up with Duco, residential ventilation specialist in Belgium, in order to complement Daikin portfolio with Duco CHRV range and corresponding accessories. And these are the two units I'm referring to, the Duco Box Energy Comfort and the Duco Box Energy Premium. Duco Box Comfort is the compact unit. It's only 21 kilos, meaning that only one person is needed in order to move it around. On the other side, the Duco Box Energy Premium is characterized by the quietest supply side on the market. It's also certified by the Passive House Institute from Germany. And this Duco Box Energy Premium comes in 16 different models, depending on whether you want the preheater, on whether you want the right or left version, depending on the type of airflow that you want. You can choose between 325 cubic meters per hour or 400 cubic meters per hour. And lastly, you can also choose to have a one-zone or a two-zone concept. I've been talking for a while now, and I think it's time to summarize a little what are the main features of these ventilation systems. First of all, I talked about indoor air quality, mentioning CO2 sensors, humidity sensors, as well as the high capacity of filtration that these units can bring. Then I talked about comfort, thanks to the extremely low noise provided by the Duco Box Energy Comfort and the Duco Box Energy Premium, as well as the possibility to preheat the fresh air in winter time. I also talked about the heat exchanger because we can save energy, meaning that we can save money by transferring heat from the supply side to the extraction side and vice versa. And when we don't want to use the heat exchanger, we can simply bypass it for free cooling capacity. Last but not least, thanks to the automatic calibration process, we can actually reduce the installation time by 60%, which means time savings. At this point, there is nothing much left for me to say, but the only remark I want to make is related to the on-demand ventilation, which, if you remember, is my favorite feature. In this case, thanks to the CO2 sensors, the humidity sensors, the temperature sensors, you can actually decide to let the unit operate automatically and autonomously, meaning that you can ventilate whenever you need it, wherever you need it, and for as long as you need it. This is all from my side. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment box below. Thank you again.
That's very clear, Alessandro. If you have any questions about his presentation, please put them on the comment box below. If you want to know more about our other solutions, please scroll down and click on the direct link below. Enjoy all the presentations.